This example shows you how to deploy a service using GridGain's Distributed Services. Distributed services help you control how many instances of your service are allowed to be deployed on each grid node. With distributed services, you can do the following: automatically deploy any number of service instances in the grid, automatically deploy singletons, including cluster singleton, node singleton, or key affinity singleton, automatically deploy services on node startup by specifying them in grid configuration, auto-inject your deployed service into executing jobs. Let's start our favorite IDE. Here, I already have a Maven project with a GridGain dependency specified in the POM. As you can see, a Maven dependency for Jetty is also specified here. In this example, I'll demonstrate how to deploy GridGain cluster singleton service by starting only one instance of a web server in the grid. Let's implement our distributed service for Jetty. I'll create a new class called Jetty Service, which will implement grid service. A service can be cancelled anytime by calling the cancel method of Grid Services API. A service gets executed automatically when an instance of Grid Services API is deployed on a node in the cluster. We can configure and start our Jetty service here. I'll add a handler to the Jetty server that prints a message when a request is made to the server. Let's run our project as a Maven build in order to create a jar file. We have our jar file created under target folder of our project. I will copy this jar file into the libs folder of my GridGain installation. Also note that I have previously copied few jar files necessary to run Jetty. Since GridGain does not support pure loading for distributed services, all jar files must be copied into GridGain's lib folder so that they are added to the class path of the node. Let us configure our service in an XML file. For demonstration purpose, I'll modify the example configuration file provided in GridGain. Here, I've already specified the configuration of our service. Distributed services can be configured by setting service configuration property of grid configuration. Note that since we are deploying our service as a cluster singleton, maximum number of service instances to be deployed per node and total number of service instances to be deployed in the cluster should be set to 1. Let's run our example from command line. We'll be starting 2 nodes. From my GridGain installations bin directory, I'll run ggstart and specify the same example configuration file in which we had configured grid service. We have got one node started and Jetty has been deployed on this node in the cluster. Let's start another node. We now have 2 nodes running and Jetty remains deployed on the first node. Let's start a browser and try to send a request. We do see our message printed on the browser. Now let's shut down the node on which the service was deployed. As you can see, Jetty has been automatically redeployed on another node. Let's go to our browser once again and try to send in the same request. Again, as expected, we do see our message printed on our browser. For more information, you can visit our website or join us at Twitter.